Across Africa, stories of resilience, impact, and transformation unfold every single day. But too often, these stories go unheard. Introducing Humanitarians of Africa, a movement dedicated to recognizing the unsung heroes shaping our continent. From local visionaries to groundbreaking organizations, we shine a light on those who inspire change, one story at a time. We don't just tell their stories, we amplify their impact. Through our platform, we connect changemakers, increase visibility, and attract the resources needed to scale their work. Africa's future is being shaped by those who dare to make a difference. Are you ready to be part of this movement? Subscribe, share, and support the Humanitarians of Africa initiative. Let's amplify impact together.
Welcome to another episode of the Humanitarians of Africa series. My name is Ella, the founder and CEO of Hexa Media Africa. And today I have another founder from Nigeria, Monisola, who is here to share her story with us on today's episode. Monisola, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so we're not going to waste so much time into this episode. We're going to go straight up to the stories, and I promise not to shed any tear today. I usually shed tears sometimes on the episode when some stories are so touching, and I'm so moved. I'm a very emotional person. So I promise not to share any tears today. We're just going to share stories and just have a very beautiful conversation. So could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to start your organization?
Okay, so my name is Monisola, you could say. I'm a mom of 5 adorables. She's surprised. And so, actually started this work sometimes in 2018, but just passively. And then I was married just with I think around 2018, I was already in an abusive marriage, but I was actually enduring. Don't worry, you won't share it here. But I was actually enduring because I'm of the opinion that marriage is for life, marriage is for better for at that time, And so I was doing the work passively while also running a paid school. I was running a paid school, Betharbel school. So, but along the line, I discovered that my abuse was getting deeper and deeper and deeper. I needed to speak out. I needed, the irony at that point was that I was talking to people who were in abuse, but it's just like physician, heal thyself. I wasn't able to step out of abuse. So eventually, when I found the courage and the voice to step out of abuse, in 10 years later, after staying in abuse for 10 years, then I decided that it was time to actually empower the voices of people who are going through certain situations that they might not have the opportunity to speak out themselves or people to help them. So I decided to take on the shoes. So immediately I stepped out of abuse. I stepped out with my 5 kids. I stepped out with twin babies who were just one year old at that time. And so how it is in Nigeria. It's not just having money. Even though I had little resources, I had families that were there to actually support me. But it was tough handling 5 kids at a time. And so my children were at home for 1 full term. So for me, it was trauma. Because my school at that time was 7 years already. But I had to abandon the school. It was like, would I choose between my school or choose between my life? Because at the point we're talking about, that was in 2020, I was already depressed. I was at the verge of death. Sometimes I would want to walk into the road, walking, moving vehicle. But then that period was a time for me to learn and a time for me to build purpose in my I continued the work of Betharbel Foundation, but this time I was just going for advocacy, I was going for sensitizations at the IDP camp. And on one of such days, I saw a lot of children. I went for a sexual, because I'm a sexual reproductive health expert too. So I went for a sexual reproductive health training at the IDP camp to teach the women on how to make reusable sanitary pads, the women and the girls. So there were over 150 women in that training. But I noticed that a lot of children were just roaming around at the IDP camp, and it's supposed to be the school time. And I was wondering, how do children roam about when they're supposed to be in school? And then I became curious and I asked questions. And I was told that for 7 years in that camp, children have not had access to education. And then the educator in me came alive, like, what? How would children be?
7 years.
Yes, for 7 years. How would they just be roaming around without having access to education? And I felt, wow, this is a good one. It's an opportunity to give back. And so I know I wouldn't be able to do a paid school because considering the environment, they cannot even afford a square meal. How much more paying? So a lot of things were running through my memory at that time. I was like, you're just a single mom who just survived the domestic violence. You want to start a free school. How do you want to do it? You know, but the thought of starting didn't leave me. So I decided to just step in. Somehow, you know, Donors for Africa Foundation was doing a training at that time. It's called Get That Training. And so in 2021, they did that training and I was a pitch winner for 2021. So all the funds that came in for the training used in that school. So that was like lifeline I had at that point in time. But a lot of persons kept telling me, Moni, why would you start a free school? You should be doing a paid job. You know, I abandoned everything. You know, I had a master's degree at that time. So everybody expected that I was going to dust my certificates. And, you know, starting a project like that required my presence 100%. It was not something I would do and just abandon. I needed to put in my time, put in the structure, put in everything. It was tough and challenging, but I can tell you, down the years, I can say that it was worth every pain. It was worth every challenge. Because at the moment, we have over 250 students in the school. Yeah, we have 12 in secondary school, we have 10 in junior secondary, and we have 10 in senior secondary. And then those in the secondary school, because they attend the government school, we still fund them. We still follow up to ensure that they get the quality of education they desire to get. So that was the story behind Betharbel Free Elementary School for IDPs.
I promised I wasn't going to cry.
I'm not going to cry.
Purpose in pain. When you made that statement, I was like, my goodness, you forgot about what you were going through and you began to care about other people's problem. And that was where you found your purpose. And that was how you were able to lift yourself out of the pressure and all of the disaster that was going on at that point. And for me, that's the turning point. That's the story here. And that's the story of change and transformation that we always look out for. And for whoever is listening to this, turn your pain to purpose. Turn your disappointment into a blessing and use it for someone else, for something else, because there is something bigger than that, you know, at that point. But anyways, I'm not going to go into preaching. And so my next question would be, you've helped so many children, you know, get access to education and all of the work that you've been able to do. Has there been any story that, you know, has really touched you and reminded you of why you started in the first place to reinforce the need for the problem that you're trying to solve?
Wow, a lot of stories. But I'll just share of a little girl called Rumosao. So Rumosao joined us when she was 14. No, she wasn't 14. When she was 12. Rumosao is about 15 now. She's just in JS1. You can imagine a 15-year-old in JS1. So when she joined us, you know, the usual culture within the IDP camp, a lot of women give birth to children. You see women giving birth to 12, 13, 15, and they don't have opportunity for a square meal. Talk less of nurturing those kids. So you see children worrying about the camp environment. Some of them are very sick. Some of them are looking very malnourished. Some of them don't have good clothing. Despite the fact that occasionally people come to the camp with clothing and all that, but it's not just about the things that people come to the camp with. It's about the change of mindset. Some of these children are traumatized. And so when we started the school, these kids, particularly this guy, I'm sharing the story of Rumusa, they come to school with things to hurt their neighbor. And then there's this, because of the trauma they have experienced, they believe that life is about inflicting pain on other people. Jesus. But as we began to teach them, as we began to nurture them, they found more meaning to life. And so Rumusa believed that all there is to life was to grow up and get married. She never believed in education. So the first time they started school, they would come to school and run away. They won't come back again. But I was dogged. I was someone who would go to their houses. If I don't see you for the next 3 days, I'm at your door. So everybody around the IDP camp knows. They'll say, Auntie is coming. That means you have not been in school for a long time. So that's why I knew that it was not something I was going to hand over to somebody. It was something I needed to do by myself. I was the one who understood the vision I got. And so every time I go to their houses, I will encourage them. I'll tell them, wouldn't you like to be a doctor? Wouldn't you like to be, the president of Nigeria someday? Wouldn't you like? And this girl, I discovered that Rumusa was highly intelligent. When it comes to solving mathematics, she was extremely good. Wow. And I kept encouraging her and telling her, Rumusa, you could do this. She said, Auntie, now marry. They weren't too good with speaking. In fact, when I started, they weren't speaking English. And people will ask me, how do I communicate?
How were you able to communicate?
Yeah, that's the irony. The thing is, the first teacher I had, and only teacher at that time, spoke Hausa, but I don't understand Hausa. But by instinct, when they are talking, I understand what they are saying. I served in Plateau State, but I really don't understand clearly, but by instinct, I could decode what they are talking about. And then I use sign languages, to express myself and all that. But over time, and that's one of the things we do. We ensure that despite the fact the children now speak English, though not very fluently, but they also, we teach them English. But I ensure that every staff I have, now we have 6 staffs at the moment, they can speak Hausa. Is a priority. And so I kept encouraging Rumusa that you someday become a doctor, until Rumusa became stable in school, and then she was topping the class. Rumusa was part of the children who transited to secondary school last year, and she's doing excellently well. I still went to their school yesterday to see them, and I'm so impressed. And you will hear Rumusa say that I've shared a story several times on my LinkedIn page. I also do a podcast session, Empowering Voices. I'm so impressed about Rumusa. He inspires me, and every time I see up in a uniform going to school, I'm sure that one day Rumusa will become a doctor because she's so passionate about going to school. The Rumusa usually knock at their door some years back or some months back. We wake up in the morning dressed up on our own without my supervision, going to our school. So I'm so excited about it. And then I would like to also chip in the story of another girl called Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth didn't come to my school, but Elizabeth was part of the tech boot camp. We usually do a summer tech training in the school every September. We start in July, end in September. And then we do it mostly for girls. It's strictly for girls. And so Elizabeth attended the training, and I saw an exceptional skill in Elizabeth. I discovered that she was very good, handling the computer. But we trained them on graphics designing. When we were doing final graduation, our designs were very exceptional. And then I became curious, and I asked Elizabeth, are you in school? She said, Auntie, I'm not in school. I dropped out of school in JS3, and that's 2 years ago. Wow. And I said, why did you continue? She said there was nobody to, fund it. And I was like, but she said, Auntie, I've been praying that this day will come. I've been praying that I have the opportunity to go back to school. And I said, but why didn't you talk to me about it? She said, because I'm not in your school. I felt maybe those you reach out to are those
only in your school.
Every child in the IDP camp is my project. And she now told me, Auntie, I've learned tailoring. I can sew very well, but I'm not fulfilled. I've learned how to do makeup because, people come with different skills. I can do it well. I'd like to be a lawyer. And there's one profound statement she made that actually touched me. She said, it is only when I get educated that I can bring my parents out of this poverty. I am sure that when I get education, my mom and my dad will leave the IDP camp and begin to live a proper life. That word didn't leave me. And for weeks, I kept thinking about it, because also transiting the children's secondary school is a lot. We spend a minimum of 75,000 per child. People say, but it's a government school, it's supposed to be cheap. But no, it's not cheap, because they'll tell you have to buy uniforms. We spend a minimum of 75. And so that was how, I kept thinking about it. I couldn't sleep until I decided, well, that's why we have 2 in SS1, because naturally we were supposed to just have JS1. But because of those 2 exceptional children, I had to put them in senior secondary school. And today, Elizabeth is in senior secondary school, Gariki, here in Abuja. And I'm excited every time I see them. It gives me joy, it gives me fulfillment. And I discovered that it made me heal fast. I didn't have time to think about the trauma that I experienced, because I was fulfilled, I was in purpose. And then the energy I would have used in trauma, thinking about the things that I've gone through,
and all of that.
Ensuring that these children were becoming better versions of themselves. And I discovered that the more I see a child fulfilled on the path of purpose, I am excited and happy.
Wonderful stories. I really love the girl whose mindset was transformed.
Yeah.
I've always heard about the IDP camps, but I've never heard that they always, because of their trauma, see it as you should always hurt someone. Like, that's a very dangerous mindset to have for the kids, and really terrible. Well done on the work that you do. And we know that running a non-profit doesn't come with as a smooth thing, as a smooth ride. So we're running now into the challenges. And I know funding is a very huge issue for a lot of organizations. But beyond funding, what are some of the challenges you have had to experience, and how have you navigated most of these challenges in the course of running your organization?
Okay, so one of the challenges I would say basically is mindset shift. Mindset shift. Now, because of the kind of children I work with, the parents have a problem, the children have a problem. Now, for example, just recently we gave uniforms to the children, and this is what we have done constantly over the years. You will find out that we give a child uniform, we provide everything, 100% free education, up to biros and pen. Then we also do school feeding. I don't know if I mentioned that. We do daily school feeding, because when the work began, we discovered that the children wouldn't want to come to school, So one of the things, because they're hungry. So one of the baits we are using to ensure they come to school and to retain them was to give them food. And we saw that it worked. And so we discovered that there's an entitlement mentality at the IDP camp. So the only way to ensure that we navigate this challenge was to begin to talk to them, was to begin to reorientate them. You give a child a uniform, and the next thing they come to school wearing another clothing, and it's dirty, it's not clean. And when you ask them, they tell them, somebody stole it. It don't lost. And you're wondering, somebody paid for this uniform you are wearing.
You don't
and you're telling me
seriously.
In 2 days. And then, you discipline a child, probably for not doing the right thing. Somebody who didn't pay a dime comes to school and tell you, I'm going to beat you up. But gradually, yes. And so it became a challenge, even retaining my workforce too, because teachers will come this time and next time they're running away. In fact, I have a challenge with coppers. Coppers will come and you sign the acceptance letter, they will never show up. You know why? One, the environment. Secondly, the children. I tell you, when I was talking about Rumusa, I talk about the fact that they can use their pen to stab each other. When we started, not anymore anyway. Not anymore when we started. So I began to talk to them. We began to do daily affirmations. I'll tell them to say things about themselves. I'll tell them in fact, when you come to my school, one of the slogans is, I'm a global hero. I'm going to go around the world. And so it began to shift their minds. I began to tell them stories about young people who are doing exceptionally well, and intentionally began to bring those people too. Now, there's a story of a little girl, Evie. She plays chess. Evie is just 9 years old. So when Ivy visited us at the IDP camp, I shared a story and told them that they could be like Ivy and then go around the world to begin to teach other young people what they know if they can sit down and learn well. And then these things began to shift their thoughts, began to shift their mind, and then they are now aligning and behaving like proper students. So aside the fact that funding is a major challenge, the mindset was a huge challenge too. Then hunger was another challenge. Hunger. You know, how do you teach a child who has not eaten for days? They are easily distracted. In fact, they wouldn't come to school. So when we introduced the school meals and began to give them food, I just saw that the stress of having to go to their houses to knock reduced. I wasn't going to their house because they know that once auntie appears, there's going to be food. And so everybody kept coming to school. And I saw that academically, their performance increased too. So those were some of the major challenges. Then getting staffs to work. You know, one of the things we do is to ensure that anyone who works with us must speak Hausa. And so, and I don't want to just recruit anyhow. I want to recruit those who are actually real educators, who are trained to the education. And most times, when you get real educators, because of the fact that the package might not be too much, they don't want to stay. Somebody who is a trained educator wants to work in a place with a fat pay package. So it was actually a challenge. But God was faithful. Gradually, God brought a team of people who understood the work, who understood what we're doing, who understood that it's beyond now. We are building for the future. And then have an exceptional team who are really doing well.
Wonderful. It's really the mindset shift. I think it's even what stood out for me, because beyond coming to the four walls of school, have something that is transforming your mind, and that is really what would stand the test of time for them beyond the education. Really, really amazing. And my next question would be stemmed from something you mentioned. You said you brought the young girl, the 9-year-old chess player, to your school. And I know that you've brought a lot of other amazing people and collaborated and partnered with a lot of people. Do you mind sharing with us how you've been able to navigate collaborations and partnerships to be able to push the work that you do?
Okay, so one thing I discovered is when I started, it was actually tough. Like I said, that I started with the pitch prize I won from Donors for Africa, and then it was tough paying salaries. It was tough buying stationaries. In fact, it's a lot. If I share the budget just between January and March, you'll be shocked. People ask me, how do you do it? You know, but I discovered that when I embraced SDG 17's partnership for Go, that was when it became easier. I began to talk to people because I understood that it's not just about me. When we come together and put our hands together, we'll achieve more. When I decide to do it alone, I might be able to reach out to 5 people, 10 people. But when we collaborate and partner together, I might be able to reach 100, 200, 300, and it becomes more flexible for me. I sleep better. So I began to talk to people. On the day I was able to reach Eve, I just saw on LinkedIn when somebody talked about they are trying to introduce chess to internally displaced camps in Nigeria. And I reached out to her. The lady is called Vivian Ibrahim. And then I discovered that she works with the gift of, she's an ambassador for the gifts of chess. And then somehow they reached out. And when she was coming, she came with Eve. Because Eve is based in Abuja. She was based in Yola. So she needed somebody who would continue the work she was about to start. And came in with Eve. And then when Eve began to talk to, in fact, Eve just being in front of the children was a miracle. It was a miracle because seeing her alone gave the children purpose for life, purpose to keep pushing and all that. So after Eve visited us, you know, it opened more opportunities for us because Vivian now reached out to one of our friends also, Daven. Daven is a Canadian philanthropist. And one of the days when he came to Nigeria, he decided to visit us because he was seeing my work on, you know, sometimes I would say, like you said at the beginning, founders want to be humble. They don't want to share their story. I was like that. I would say for like the first two years, I wasn't talking about the work I do. And then it was frustrating because at the end of every month, I'll be looking for where to borrow to pay salaries, And so somebody just spoke to me to be intentional about my social media print. And then I began to noise it. I began to shout it on Facebook. I didn't know if people were seeing it or not, but I was just doing it intentionally. I didn't know if the picture qualities were okay, but I'll just take random pictures in school, share the story, and then the power of storytelling. I also discovered that the power of storytelling helps to push your partnership and collaboration. Because when people hear your story, when they hear the amazing things you're doing because you're sharing the stories of the lives that have been transformed, you just discover that people will tilt towards you naturally without you asking. And I would say that when I began to share the story, the work I do, I saw people coming naturally to me. I saw people wanting to participate in the work I do. Yes, I'm not there. There's still a lot of struggles. There are a lot of things we still need to do. I still also need to learn more. But I discovered that little by little, as I tell people about the work I do, I'm learning from somebody. Recently also, we started a collaboration. We call it the Sustainability Teachers. I run a school. There's a lady at the IDP camp, the change makers, and there's another lady, Green Nigeria. What did we come to do? We discovered that the camp where I work was very dirty. And it's one reason why visitors will want to come, partners will want to come, workers will not want to come, And so we decided to form a sustainability club with the parents of the children I teach, where we gather deliberately every Saturday to clean the environment. We started, but the children and the parents have taken it up now. Before you come to the camp, you just be shocked to see. Before now, when you come to the camp, you probably want to use a nose mask. You will probably want to hold your breath. But right now, you will just be surprised that everywhere is clean and you'll be wondering, is this really an IDP camp? Because we decided to form partnership together and we're doing an amazing work. And we're not just teaching them how to clean, we're teaching them compost farming so that when the rains begin, they can plant what they eat. And then we're also teaching them how to make fashion accessories from discarded bottles. And so, yes, I just discovered that collaboration and partnership has made life easier for me, unlike when I decided to do it on my own. And I tell people when they come to me, I said, though I've had my share of disappointment in partnership, I wouldn't say that. But for me, it was a learning point. It didn't mean that because I had my disappointment, I wouldn't continue, But I would like to share that part so that somebody can learn. But I just discovered that when you partner and collaborate, you are easing yourself. It's not about competition. You are complementing each other and you are driving more impact. So for the aspect where I say I experienced a disappointment, I think that it will be a learning point for somebody. And so one of my friends wanted to, she won an enterprise fellowship where she was supposed to do, because I told you I do sexual and reproductive health training with Days for Girls International. And so she didn't have a registered non-profit. And so she wanted to, collaborate with me and partner with me. But because I did it on a friendship basis, we didn't sign an MOU. Yeah, we didn't sign an MOU. And so she got it, used my name, the name of my organization, Betharbel for Girls Foundation. And at the end of the day, after she got the deal, we did the training together. In fact, she wasn't available. She was at work. I was always available. I attended all the trainings. But for me, it's a plus because what you have learned, you can never forget. You can never unlearn. But I just discovered that immediately the partnership was signed, and then we're supposed to be partners together on that project. She said she wanted to register the organization. So how do you register an organization that is already registered? But for peace sake, I had to opt out of that. She's still using the name, no problem. But I'm just grateful that it was a learning point for me. So when people come, I ensure, and then it's an encouragement to someone out there, ensure that it's clearly written. How do you want to do this partnership? It's not that somebody will one day and say, it's my organization now, or I brought the larger share of whatever it is that you have been using to run the organization, so I'm now automatically in charge. So once it's well documented, there won't be any form of problem.
Thank you for sharing that lesson. It's really important to have an agreement, no matter how small, whether friend or family, just for had I known sake, just for that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so finally, in 1 minute, how can people support the work that you do? How can they get in contact with you to give back to the work that you're doing?
Okay, so there are a lot of ways you can support us. We have different programs. We have the Adopt a Teacher program, and so we actually started the Adopt a Teacher program to make it more flexible for us as an organization. So it's a win-win for you. It's a win-win for me. You adopt a teacher. It means that if you adopt a teacher, you are in charge of paying that teacher throughout the period you are adopting the teacher. And it also means that indirectly you are reaching out to over 70 children. Because at the moment, is in handling about 70 children. We hope to be able to split the classrooms when we have the opportunity. But at the moment, that you'll be able to reach out directly to 70 children, and that's just for 100,000 naira. If you're able to support us with 100,000 naira a month, you are paying a teacher's salary, you're empowering an educator, and it means also that you are reaching out to 70 internally displaced children. And then if you want to get more details on our website, www.bethabelfoundation.org. You can also send a direct message on WhatsApp or Instagram. Then we also have giving of stationaries. We call it donate a school kit. We call it Project DAX, where every session you can donate a kit, a school bag, a shoe, a socks to a student, to 10 students, to 5 students, depending on your capacity as an individual. Donate stationaries, packs of books, maybe 144 packs of books, a pack of biro, whatever. And then we have our school meals too. Is an integral part of our organization, because the school meals is what helps us to actually drive the impact that you see in the work we're doing. So you can support our school meals by either donating or giving us food items. We already have a place in school where we prepare the meals. We're planning on building a kitchen, but at the moment we are using a makeshift kitchen where we prepare our meals. But we have a place, we have a school library. So at the moment we're storing our food in the library, So you can donate food items to us to ensure that, do you know how excited you will be that you were able to feed a child, somebody who have not had, and the irony is, even if they have opportunity to eat at home, they don't have opportunity to eat nutritious or good meals. These children are malnourished. But when we began to feed the children, I began to see the impact. So you can support through our school meals, you can support through Adopt the Teacher program, you can support to donate a school kit. And finally, I'm excited about this. It's dear to my heart. We're going to be having our inaugural inter-house sports in June. And I will be looking out for people to actually support us. Because, the perspective that people have is because they're internally displaced. There shouldn't be something like sport. But our school is an all-round school. It's not just about teaching. We go to the extent of visiting them at home. They are our friends. When you see me relate to my children, you know that I call them my children, because the way I treat my biological children is the way I treat them. You know that this is beyond school environment. And the children are excited. They're already reacting towards the Intersport, about the inaugural Intersport. And we're looking forward to seeing organizations like Indomie Noodles, Nescafe, all these organizations. Reach out, come and make this Intersport colorful and exciting for the children. Let them understand that what I'm telling them is real. They are as good as every other child. They are not less of any other child outside there. They can get the opportunities that children out there can access. So I want to ensure that this Intersport coming up is memorable for the children. And everyone listening to me can join me to make this dream a reality.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As usual, everyone, please check the description box and also check on your screen for how you can connect with Monisola and support the work that they do. Their website, social media, everything that you need to get in contact with them will be in the description box and showing on your screen right now. Thank you so much for sharing your amazing story with me. This was really, really, really fun. And I learned a lot from you. And I look forward to visiting the school in Abuja whenever I come in.
I can't wait.
I look forward to doing that. Thank you so much. Please share this video. There might be someone within your network that would want to support the work. Do not support it. Someone who might be touched by the story. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode where we'll be sharing the story of another amazing founder. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your story. And I look forward to seeing you in Nigeria when I come. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Finally, to God be the glory. Check it out. Check it out. Completed.
Alima was just 6 years old in 2018, full of life and curiosity. But as insurgency ravaged her community, her education was abruptly altered. 7 years later, Alima remains out of school, her dreams fading with each passing day. This isn't just Alima's story, it's the reality of millions. I'm Ayekuse Monisola from Betharbel Foundation. We're tackling a crisis. 2.5 million internally displaced children in Nigeria, 70% of IDP children without quality education, 13 million out of school children nationwide. If we don't act, we face a lost generation, perpetuating poverty and social unrest. But there's hope. Betharbel Elementary School for IDP has integrated 110 children back to formal education. Now we're scaling up. Our solution provides free elementary education for 500 IDP children, qualified teachers and modern facilities, psychosocial support and vocational training for caregivers, nutritious meals and health care. Our impact: 80% improvement in literacy rates, enhanced cognitive development, fostered cohesion,